quick.
All right.
All right. That's okay. Well, go ahead and give the introduction there, Slappy, and we'll go from there. There it is. Meanwhile, I'll queue up the YouTube page, and then I can see comments.
There you go.
Comments. We got comments. Hey, almost got 100 more subscribers in the last 2 weeks. It's really nice.
Yeah, I saw that.
Everybody's doing good. All right.
Yeah, so we're live right now. We got like 7 people on right now. So
hey, everybody.
We're gonna do. Yeah, we're and P shoot asked. He said we have another show. Yeah, we're doing an impromptu. And the thing was, RJ, I didn't do a notification video or anything. I wanted to just kind of
another show. Wait a minute. Are you tired of us doing shows? We can stop if you want. I mean, like I could always go back to my other job, which is doing Papa G impressions. Hey, everybody, it's Papa G calling now. Talk about our show. Got a big show for you today.
Yeah,
I can always do that.
So
do my Papa G.
I wanted to just wing it today and just see how many people we would get on, just to kind of test the waters.
But what we need to do is we're going to pop around during various times of the week and see when our best chances are for getting people on board. Dre, what's happening? Kevin James, what's happening? Whiskey to Don, what's up? This is a great idea. Kazi came up with, said, let's take a few random times and try to throw around and see if we can try to find when most of our knuckleheads are actually got time to talk. Midnight isn't working for a lot of people because anybody with a real job, and we like to think that most of the people that watch our show actually have jobs. So, instead of trying to have a grow house in their backyard.
Wait, what's going on? I Buy Houses, Kevin James, everybody.
I still can't believe that they busted when they raided Reggie's house, and I never talked to him about it, and imagine he hasn't said anything about it either. They already had all those charges against him, all the drug trafficking charges and money laundering charges against him. And then when they raided his house to go seize his computers and seize all of his stuff and take his car and take his dad's car and all that stuff, one of the things they mentioned is they just casually mentioned the fact that he had like 135 pot plants in his garage or in a back house behind his house. He was growing like 135 plants. Well, we started doing the math on that, and it's like $1 million a year worth of yield off of those plants. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and yet the police raided, but there were never any subsequent charges. If the police just happened to be walking by my house one day and they looked over my fence and they saw that I had this grow house and I had 135 plants, I think in the state of California, I think you're allowed 2, if I'm not mistaken. So that's kind of over the limit a little bit, and that would really kind of be like you're an illegal grow operation, really, at that point, if you've got over 100 plants. So, and yet it was amazing to me that in spite of all that, they went ahead and they seized what they had to seize, but then there was no other subsequent charges. It wasn't like they tacked on and, oh, by the way, you've grown 100-something plants. I don't know. The funny thing about it is they could, I guess, wait till he's out and then throw those charges at him too, if they wanted to, because that was stuff that they got, and it wouldn't be federal, that would be state charges. So, if they want to do that, but I know that's how much they seized. So,
Well, wasn't he a grower or like a fish?
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, he was growing like 135 plants.
No, but a legitimate one though, like a dispensary kind of offshoot or something.
I don't know. Maybe that's why they didn't have a thing about it. But I'm like, I'd certainly want to see a certificate then if he was. I don't know. I have to check on that one. See. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would be funny if all of a sudden he just chose this particular time to suddenly get legit. I mean, none of the other operations he was involved in, he went to prison for, were legitimate, mm-hmm. right? All the money laundering that was going on and dropping money in and out of people's bank accounts. Deposits of $9,999 so that it didn't tip the $10,000 notification to the FBI, things like that. Those are pretty much known. So I don't know how he would do everything else illegally and do that legally, mm-hmm. But maybe he did. It doesn't sound right to me. But the fuck do I know?
Yeah. Well, I think. Yeah, welcome. I think we wanted to have this impromptu show just to maybe go over maybe some things that we didn't get to the day that my internet got shut off because I didn't pay the bill, and
yeah, Well, and speaking of which, I actually have a light now because Kazi threatened to do a GoFundMe campaign with that I didn't have any light, and it looked like I was like sitting around in the darkness doing the show. So now I have a light, ladies and gentlemen, and you can actually see my damn ugly face. Although I probably look better in the dark anyway. So we'll do that. All right. Let's see. Now, you're gonna have to tell me how that you pronounce the name Gayabito. Is that right? Gayabito? Gayabito. All right. It says, yo, what's going on with you guys? I hope y'all don't disconnect on us tonight. Well, yeah, Kazi. Okay. Yeah. You keep the generator, the mice in the generator with the wheel moving. Do that. Kazi has this elaborate wire that goes from his neighbor's house where he's pirating the internet cable that he brings over from his friend's house next door. And they caught on to that, so they yanked
the cord.
They cut him. No, they took the bolt cutters out and cut that cable right now.
Yeah.
It just took them a little while to find the electrical tape and tape it back up again.
Got it. You got Easy Boy, Easy Boy 88.
Yo, what's going on? Yes, I had a good opportunity. I don't do it very often, actually, but I had a good opportunity to talk a little bit with Easy Boy offline. It was a great conversation. I had a lot of really good conversation with him about some of that stuff. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome back. Like I said before, all comments, all questions are welcome here. There's no such thing as a dumb question. And if I made it sound like it was a dumb question, then that's on me. That's bad on my part because it goes against what I keep saying. Question everything. Question everything. Well, if you question everything and I kind of like body slam you when I do it, when I respond to it, then it doesn't make people want to ask a lot of questions. So I'm glad that you asked. It was a good question. Everybody's more than welcome there.
Yeah, so, you virtually DDT'd him on that live.
I know. Yeah, I know. It was the aliens move. I went up to orbit and I nuked his site from orbit. That was kind of the move there. Went to 40,000 feet and dropped a bomb on him. So, but he didn't deserve that. And then again, I think if we'd had more time and your internet connection hadn't been cut off by the cable company, that we probably could have actually gone back around there, and I probably would have smoothed that out. But as you guys know, I get a little impassioned about these things that we talk about, and sometimes it gets under my skin. What are you gonna do? So anyway, all right. So
well, if you do want to start out with a topic, I got a lot of email. I got a lot of emails, and I got some comments about Tupac being alive. People. Yeah, it was crazy. It was like certain people didn't believe that he's alive, but then they wanted to spin it and say, look at it like this. So I don't know. I just was saying he's dead, and they wanted me to think in terms of number one that his family protected him and he escaped, and then I think the second one was that he was afraid to come back.
Well, yeah. This is the guy that shoots at police officers, right? He opens fire on police officers in Atlanta. He's afraid to come back. What's he afraid of? I mean, this guy wasn't afraid of going to prison. That's where he shot police officers. So he'd be a hero of the cause in this day and age right now. I can tell you that. That's for sure. Look, I mean, I've said this once. I've said it a million times. I've talked to the family. I've had dinner with the family. I've been with the family, been with the Feeny, been with Glow, been around all those cats. And I have photographic proof of it that's not altered. And one thing that I can tell you from talking to all of them is that he's gone. He's gone. And in my interviews with everybody from Layla Steinberg and Tracy Robinson and Glow and the Outlaws and everybody, the wake that he left in his death ruined so many people's hopes and dreams, just dashed them, okay? Took, just like his life was taken away, almost like their lives were taken away too, because they all had dreams, aspirations that were based on the things that Tupac was doing. Now, I am going to turn this light down. I think this light's a little bright now. Starting to look a little, whoops, go the other way with it there. Okay. So ultimately, the way I look at it is if Tupac faked his own death, then he's the biggest asshole that ever lived. Okay. Just the biggest asshole. Because even if his family knew not too many people could know. Okay, like a Tracy Robinson or like a Layla Steinberg or an H.M. Gregory. Not 1,000 people can't keep a secret. Okay, and Tupac would have to let a bunch of people know if it was going to be some secret that he hoped to keep there. It wouldn't just be his immediate family members. Other people would have to know. And if other people didn't know, then everybody that helped him get to where he was, he'd be the biggest asshole in the world to leave all those people thinking he was dead, and the most selfish person on the planet, because all of these people that were hurting, people that did nothing but good by him, like Tracy Robinson, are still hurting to this day. 20 years later, they're still in pain over the whole thing. Okay, it's still a painful subject. So if he was going to do that, he'd be the biggest freaking asshole that ever lived, number one. And especially if it was planned. And then the whole thing about him being afraid to come back. Why in the world would you think Tupac would be afraid to come back? Like Gloria said, Tupac had a big mouth. Okay, there was no way he was going to keep a secret, especially a secret that involved his own death and faking his own death. It just, again, too many other things. It just doesn't happen that way. I mean, now Tom Wally, is he in on it now? If Tupac's alive, clearly if Afeni was in on it and Tupac's alive, Afeni's dead, is Tom Wally in on it now? Have we expanded the conspiracy to Tom Wally? And if Tom Wally knows, does Molly Major, who works with him, does she know too? How retarded does it have to get? It just gets absurd at some point, as you think I have a conspiracy theory. Good Lord. For him to be alive, it would have to be like the greatest conspiracy cover-up in the history of mankind. And the question you'd have to ask yourself is, why? Why would he fake his own death? Why? Because he was tired of the rap game? No. He wanted to be in TV. He wanted to do movies. It's kind of hard to do movies if you're dead. Okay? Those are the things he wanted to do. So that's the thing about it, is that, you just kind of have to look pragmatically about it. And
do you think that you would have more of a following if you went the direction of Tupac alive?
Oh, absolutely. If I suddenly turned around and just rename myself Michael Nice, I'd probably have 100,000 subscribers. Okay.
Okay.
He kind of looks like he's kind of a fat older guy. If I took the glasses and just put the glasses on and
need a hat.
A stupid hat. Yeah, I don't have a stupid hat around. I guess I could find
and then
one. Hold on a second. Maybe I do.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, I just had to bring that up. Sorry for the audience, for everybody who comes into the chat. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. There, a stupid hat. Yeah. So now I'm Michael Nice.
And then you gotta talk with the English accent.
Right. Cheerio, mate. Cheerio and all that. Bye-bye. I'll put on some shades so that way I could be like secret agent man.
And I'll be that guy that created his persona. And I'll ask you questions about Tupac.
Then I can go really dark with it and just be
tell us.
Okay, now
tell us where you hit Tupac, Michael.
I hit him on the plane. I put him on. Oh, right, mate. I put him on a plane. Bobby Kickers and Knickers, and I put him on a plane down to the Bahamas, and then we took a bypass and we went to the Navajo reservation.
Oh, right outside of Las Vegas.
Right, the Navajos that live right outside of Las Vegas. Yes, which I never knew there was any Navajos outside. Are there Navajos outside of Vegas? Last I knew, Navajos are like in Arizona or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
New Mexico.
I'm not too sure where they're at, but no, I know we can keep carrying on with this bit, but I just thought it was a little
Bobby Dazzlers.
Right.
Yes.
And people actually embrace it. It's just very strange.
Well, because again, it's confirmation bias. It's what people want to believe. They have a belief in their head, and Tupac was such an amazing rapper and such a force of nature during his time, that people to accept that he's dead means that there's no possibility that they're going to hear anything more from him, or that he's, may fade into obscurity at some point. If you think he's alive, then that hope is always there that maybe he'll come back and do another album, or maybe he'll show up on 60 Minutes, or maybe he'll be at the Indian casino dealing cards or something, that he just might be around. It'd be the new lounge act at the Navajo Indian casino.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Irving. He won't be called Tupac because that would make too much noise and that would give the whole thing away. So we'd have to come up with some other name, some other name that would be a good name, like, here's Melvin, there it is.
Yeah, something.
So,
yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, if people, want to believe he's alive, then, great. It's kind of like Elvis, right? Elvis is
right.
And he's never coming back. I mean, they've been talking about that for, I mean, I don't even know when Elvis died. You probably have a better idea than I do, but I always tell people that 40 years from now, we'll have the same conversation and no one will ever have seen Tupac again in 40 years.
Yeah, I believe that's true. That's true. All right, so we got a couple quick shout outs. Nicole Murray, what is up? I saw you're live, got the alert. Good on you. All right, good on you, mate. That's Australian, by the way. That's not my English accent. Chip cheerio is my English accent. Good on you, mate. That's a good Australian accent. Good Aussie accent. All right. Ken B says, Suge says you solved one, you solved the other. I would agree with that. I agree with Suge on that one, Let's see here. And it's funny that these guys talk in the third person like, they didn't know nothing about any of the events or anything like that. Oh, you solved one, you solved the other. Yeah, thanks. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, you guys didn't know you were getting a comedy show tonight too, huh? All right. Yeah, so Gia Vito is absolutely right. Michael Nice Dude fakes his own death. I mean, he wasn't even a real guy to begin with. So here's the official call. And no, I do not have a coke problem. I keep rubbing my nose. People think I have a coke problem or something. I went out horseback riding today, and it was dusty as hell. And I got all kinds of freaking dust up my nose, so my nose is itchy like a mother right now. Anyway, all right, so this guy fakes his own death. Here's the thing. I think the guy that was putting all this Michael is some dude that goes by the YouTube moniker of Incini Studios or Incini Studios or some nonsensical, worthless name like that. Anyway, that means absolutely nothing, and who knows what the heck significance it has. They always said when you brand something, make sure you brand something with something that people actually understand what it means. But anyway, Issini and his studio put this guy out there. I'd like to actually get real information on the guy, and let's get away from the fraud. Put him out there. Let's do a recent interview with them, and then why don't you put me on so that I can ask him a few questions of my own, and then we'll see how real he is.
Oh yeah, that would be good. Okay? Yeah, well, Michael Nice.
See what I'm saying?
Michael Nice is supposed to be Rob Castle, right? Is that who he's?
Yes, that's right. Well, Michael Nice is not going to be so nice after I'm done with him. He's going to be Michael Not So Nice. Yeah. Okay? He'd be Michael A-hole.
He had those photos of him. I guess he had got killed, and they had that. I guess he was eating McDonald's French fries, and all the ketchup spilled on his face.
Maybe. All right.
You got some comments.
Yeah. Let's say Papa G in an Aussie accent. Boy, that's a tough one. Hey, y'all, what's happening? Y'all, with Papa G down and down under. Here we are. I actually sound like that guy, though. Go cowboy guy going, yeah, we're going to town now. We're all going to town. So sorry, but that's about the best I can do. Papa G's kind of got his own Louisiana accent like that. He already has kind of a southern drawl when he does his stuff, but that's what he does, and that's how Papa G talks. I don't know that I can do an Aussie accent on top of Papa G. It'd be kind of embarrassing, but what
RJ, people have been asking if you're going to do a little bit more, I guess, investigation journalism with.
Do I look like the Blues Traveler guy? I do.
With
turn around, been a long, long time. All right. Yep.
Are you gonna do any more investigative journalism on regarding Biggie?
No, I'm just gonna sit here and do stupid impressions for the rest of the evening. I think.
More investigation with.
What's up? If we can't be light from time to time, what the hell is it all about?
With Biggie, more investigation with Biggie. That's what they
Well,
want to know.
absolutely, yeah. No. Listen, I haven't even scratched the surface with Biggie. Biggie has not got the R.J. Bond treatment. Not that he deserves. Let's put it that way. Battle for Compton, we kind of grazed over. If you notice that we veered over that double yellow lane and we went into the other oncoming traffic, and that was the Biggie case. There's some players there like the LAPD and Phil Carson and a lot of people there that are involved with the Biggie thing. And I originally didn't get into the Biggie stuff because the Tupac stuff was like pretty encompassing and, like a nine-headed hydra all by itself. But, you notice in Battle for Compton, we started to veer over. I mean, I got Ken Bogney. I've got a whole lot of stuff there. So, yes, Biggie has not received the R.J. Bond treatment, but in cooperation with Russell Poole and with Russell Poole's family and other interviews that have been done, I promise you, Biggie Smalls is going to get the R.J. Bond treatment, and they have no fucking clue what's coming for him. Okay? Bottom line.
Well, that answers that question. And that was actually it.
It's Garth Brooks with the hat. Now I got a better hat for Garth Brooks. I got a 30-gallon hat. Remember, I ride horses, so I got that cowboy hat shit going on.
And when you say you ride horses, is that your horse ranch or is that somebody else's horse ranch?
Oh well, I can't say. Oh. I plead the fifth on that one. No. We board horses. And today I didn't even ride horses. We went out and got some rental horses and went out on a trail ride because it was a nice day. And sometimes it just takes a lot of work to get your horses in a trailer and trail your horses down and get them off, dump them, and have to take them back. And sometimes if you don't keep your horses close to where you live, it's just kind of painful that way. Sometimes it's easier just to go crack down a couple bucks and rent a horse and go on a horseback ride. And it's a little bit easier because then when you're off the horse, you don't have to clean the shit. You don't have to hose them down. You don't have to take the saddle off. It's kind of like a rental car. You just kind of like say, I'm done. Here you go. Yeah. And then all the maintenance and shit that they got to do with the horse, that's their problem. They don't even mess around with it. So, yeah.
All right.
So, yeah. So, let's see here. Ken B says, hell yeah. Yeah. We're going to hell to the yeah on the Biggie Smalls thing. Yeah, listen, I mean, guys, here's the thing. I am working on stuff. Just because I'm not talking about it a lot, Kazi will tell you I'm definitely in the thick on some stuff. So,
Yeah.
And Tammy Frazier says it's right. His spiritual energy is very much alive, but he's dead, Jim. That's it.
Yeah, I Buy Houses has a question for you.
Okay, go.
He put, do you think Papa G has any knowledge of what could have happened to Tupac?
Well, it's funny because I don't know. I think I asked Jesse to take it down. I think part of the Papa G interview is up there. Papa G was actually a really good interview. I mean, I dish on him, but he was actually a very, very good interview. And he was he had a lot of good stories. The circumstances around when Tupac was shot really caught him more by surprise than anybody else. And it's one of those, I don't know, it's not a humorous story, but it kind of is. They had at the upstairs at some really swank hotel, he had all of the news media and people up there that they were doing some sort of like a Tupac personal appearance. He was going to appear there or something like that, and maybe after Club 662 or not. But he was doing something with David Kenner at the time. I'm sorry, I take that back. David Kenner wasn't there. David Kenner was in L.A. And Papa G was there in Vegas, and he had invented a bunch of media, press people, all that, to do something. I think it was actually fight related. Now that I think about it, it was like a fight party or something like that they were doing. Death Row was doing for the press. Now, the funny thing about that story is I really don't know how that reconciles with the whole going to Club 662 and they were going to be there. What was Papa G doing? If everybody else is at Club 662, who the hell is he going to have there for the press? But the way he explains the story was that when the shooting came, David Kenner called him and said he's been shot. You need to be on the first thing smoking, which is basically means get on the first plane you can to get back to LA again, because as the publicist, public relations person for Death Row, you're going to have a lot of work to do. And there's going to be a lot of people calling and asking a lot of questions, and you're going to need to be on your job. So he was surprised. And the way he explained it, he literally left that party with everybody, kind of milling around. And I'm guessing that after the booze kind of finished off and the food kind of, everybody just kind of, I don't know, dissolved their way. And the reporters are like, no, why the hell are we here? So I think that's how that all went. Nicole Murray says, RJ, can RJ summarize the patent letter? Sure. Just a quick second here. Easy Boy 88 Study says, RJ, do you believe the official commission report that Oswald was the lone shooter and acted alone? No, I don't. I don't believe the official commission report on that. I subscribe to what they call, the magic bullet theory. It's the same magic bullet that they used to get Buntry's car to get a hole in the back of it. It's the bullet that defies physics and makes a U-turn and everything else. I think there's too much other forensic evidence that we've learned over the last 50, 60 years that really contradict the official report on that. So that's my belief. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I don't know. Okay, so the patent letter. Okay, let's do this quickly. There was a letter that was received by Fox 11 News reporter by the name of Chris Blatchford. Now, anybody that knows Chris Blatchford knows that back in the 90s, Chris Blatchford was the investigative reporter for KTTV News before it was Fox. It was called Channel 11 KTTV News, and it was a local, that's important, it was a local news station for the Los Angeles area. And what does that mean? Well, that back in the olden days before cable TV and all that, they actually had local for major markets like Los Angeles, Chicago, even some smaller markets. You had a local television station. Well, Los Angeles had 3 of them. They had KTTV, which was Channel 11. They had KCOP, which was Channel 13. And they had KTLA, which was Channel 5. They had those 3 stations. You could still get the majors, CBS, NBC, ABC, but in addition to that, then you had your local stations. So in LA, we were lucky. We had 6 stations, and if the president came on, you were fucked because every one of them carried the president, and that was that. So the local stations had their own news team. They had their own budgets. They had their own owners. They were owned by a company, and I think it's called Multimedia Group or the Multimedia Nation Group or something. At any rate, KTTV had its own budget for doing news, and because they were a local news station, CBS, ABC, NBC covered national news, and they left it to the local TV stations to cover local news. That's what they did, local news. And so they had a budget. They had a big budget, and they had a lot of really crack investigative reporters, investigative journalists that would cover local LA news. And Chris Blatchford happened to be one of reporters, and he's probably one of the most fellas because he's renowned and liked by both the media and the gangs and the bad guys. The bad guys even like the guy who always tried to be really fair, but he was known in the areas as the gangs started to come up. He just happened to be the beat reporter that was in those neighborhoods. He knew Suge's parents. He knew Reggie's dad. He knew all the different players there back before there were the gang thing going on. And he was there, and so he was always the go-to guy when anything in that area was news. So, and this is going to be longer, 30 seconds, I guess. Anyway, Chris Blatchford got a phone call from a confidential, reliable informant that he had used in other investigative cases that it had good information. So this was a guy that gave him good information, and Fox News actually helped solve a major burglary crime in Northern California based on the information that this CRI actually gave to Chris Blatchford. He did the piece on it, turned his information over to the Northern California police. They solved the crime based on the information this guy gave. Well, this same guy called him up and he said, look, Chris, I have a couple of guys who said that they were in on the Tupac killing. And Chris Blatchford, of course, said, bullshit. And he said, no, this is what they've told me. Well, because this guy had given him reliable information in the past, Chris Blatchford said, okay, let me talk to him. So Chris Blatchford had an hour-and-a-half long phone call with these guys who were called the Patton brothers, Danny and Malcolm Patton. he had an hour phone call, maybe an hour and a half phone call with them. Based on the questions that he asked them and based on the information that they gave him in that phone conversation, he agreed to expend TV news time, which meant sending a camera crew up, paying a camera people. It's all budgeted, so they got to pay for it. But setting up an interview with these guys who claimed that they were in on the killing of Tupac Shakur. Okay. And he set that up, and at quite a cost to the TV station. Well, apparently, according to Chris Blatchford, the day that they were supposed to, everybody was there, everybody was set up, waiting for these guys. They got stood up, and in place of those guys showing up for the interview, they received a letter. Chris Blatchford got a letter, and in this letter, the letter spelled out everything that they would said, apparently what they had said in the interview when they talked to him on the phone, and a little bit more, and presented the letter, and also said, in addition to that, we're going to drop the gun, the murder weapon, off at Fox TV, at KTTV. We're gonna drop it off, so be ready for it. The problem was Chris Blatchford got the letter about the gun being dropped off, and by the time he got on the phone to call Fox TV station and call the news, security had already reported that two guys had shown up asking for Chris Blatchford that had a paper bag with something very, very heavy inside it, because they said the paper bag was sagging. Okay. They had something very, very heavy in it, but the security guard did not take delivery of the bag with the object in it, because it was not, Chris Blatchford wasn't there to sign for it, and he's not just going to accept some suspicious package from two guys that he doesn't know. And security turned those guys away, and that was before Chris Blatchford could get on the phone with the people that he needed to get on the phone and tell them he was expecting that package. But two things Chris Blatchford got: he got the letter and the statement about the package. Now, the letter itself is a recount of the events of the evening that allegedly happened before the killing, during the killing, the night of the killing, and then some backstory and some background as to why they were involved, but also really what they did was they threw a guy named a Little Half Dead under the bus. And it was more about, we were involved with it, but this is the guy who did it. And if you want to know why he did it, here's why he did it. XYZ ABC. So the confession later lays it out. And I would say for a 2-page letter, it's dense. It's dense. It's got so much information in like a handwritten 2-page letter that it was just thick as wood in terms of the information that it was getting. And of course, when Chris Blatchford showed Russ Poole and I the letter, and Sandy Rivera, who was our attorney, who was also there and also read the letter with us, the one thing that jumped out at me was that he had dropped Reggie Wright's name in the middle of the letter. And this is a letter that came out of left field from people that didn't have any, it wasn't even known at the time. And so the patent letter basically says, and we used to call it the confession letter, but it's really not a confession. It is, but it isn't. It's really two guys snitching on a third guy. Okay, so we call it the patent letter. The patent letter was basically dictated to the confidential, reliable informant's younger sister. Now, why? 2 reasons why. First off, the way it was explained to me was, and I know because I've talked to him a million times, and no ding on Soria, but Robert Soria is not a very literate guy. He's taking some classes and stuff like that, but he was not a well-educated, well-versed person who could compose a letter or take dictation, okay? I've seen some of his letters. I don't think he could spell if his life depended on it. But at least back then. Now he can, because he's taking some classes and doing real well. But he asked his sister, who obviously could print and understood English very well and could write it out, to basically take dictation, because the patents, this is the second part, the patents did not want to put it in their own writing, because even though they were saying what happened and they were throwing this other guy under the bus, they didn't want to, and that's why they didn't show up for the interview. They didn't want to somehow personally be identified as the people that were basically ratting everybody out. And because of that, they got cold feet, but they dictated the letter, and the letter went to, and again, like I said, if it hadn't come from the Pattons, it had just been this thing that just showed up. Basically, the only name that's mentioned in there was the half dead and that, but it was dictated to the sister so that she could write it, first off. And no, it is not the lady that Greg Kading purports to have been the lady that wrote the letter. It is absolutely 100% not that person. That was a total lie. Yeah, exactly. Total lie. Okay, just that was Saturday Night Live kind of stuff. But a total lie. But at any rate, the confession letter or the Patton letter was in place of an interview the Pattons were going to do. Now, and I go back and I say, okay, first off, you got to understand Chris Blatchford is a hands down legitimate reporter. Okay. He would not have given that letter to Russ Poole and myself because he respected Russ Poole as an investigator. And he wouldn't have given it to us, and he wouldn't have given it to our attorney. And that's the thing these idiots on the other side don't ever tell you. They don't share with you, and it's largely because they don't know. But we had an attorney who was one of the attorneys for the Wallace family on the Biggie case, Sandy Rivera. She was an attorney for the Wallace family during that case that went with us, and a huge Tupac fan, and went with us to meet with Chris Blatchford. He is not going to just hand us some piece of shit letter and say, look what I did, and throw something on the wall. And Russ and I weren't digging around looking for things. He handed to us. He said, this is a lead that I never got a chance to follow back up on, because shortly after this whole thing happened, Fox decided to change its news reporting because it got bought by Fox. KTTV got bought by Fox, and Fox News started saying, no, we want to do more like TMZ. We want to do more entertainment stuff like, Entertainment Tonight. We want to do more stuff like that. So the hard-hitting investigative journalist stuff stopped. He didn't get the budget for it anymore like he would used to do, so he didn't have any money. And that was the other part that he had said. He believed that the reason the Pattons were doing it was because they thought, and at the time it was true, Fox was giving out a lot of money for leads because it made the evening news, and they got them Emmy Awards and made a lot of news for them. And they could also, get one over on the police that hadn't solved it yet. If they could break the story that they're the ones who figured out who killed Tupac, they were willing to pay some serious money for that. So, I'm sure a lot of people would have been happy to try to get that. But see, the thing about it that is always intriguing to me was that this phone call happened for an hour prior to the interview even being set up. Chris Blatchford had a phone call with the Pattons, or at least people saying they were the Pattons, and he had enough information and asked enough questions. This guy doesn't suffer fools. Chris Blatchford's a smart fucking dude, and he does not suffer fools lightly. And he would know the right questions to ask because he was involved with the Tupac Shakur killing from a local LA standpoint. He's the one that covered all the gang war and all that stuff. He knew that story inside and out. So if these la-di-da guys are going to come along and claim something outrageous, like they were the responsible guys for the Tupac Shakur killing, well, then all of a sudden you've got a big story there. And of course, he's going to be skeptical about it because, they said Oprah Winfrey killed Tupac at one point. So he's going to be skeptical. He asked the questions, and it was enough. He got enough information on his plate, and his questions sufficiently answered, probably even some trick ones, that it warranted the time for them to go and do this interview. Take the camera crew, get the truck, clear it with his producer, go book time out of his schedule to set up the interview with these guys and get this on tape, because that's what they wanted. They wanted it on tape. They're going to make that claim. And he had his questions answered. His questions were answered to his satisfaction for him to roll cameras on these guys. What does that tell you about the credibility of their story? Kazi, what does that tell you?
What does it tell? It says, I'm sorry, you're...
Yeah, catch up now. Come on, catch up.
Yeah, exactly. No. I mean, I really respect Chris Blatchford's position on it. I mean, the letter I haven't read it in such a long time, but there's a lot of valid points in there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so again, this is that Excuse me. And this is why we still, again, I think there's more information in the confession letter that needs to be reviewed and looked at and asked, like questions that are asked. I asked the Pattons about the questions. It looked to me like they're bald-faced lying. In fact, it looked to our expert, Susan Constantine, who does this stuff nationally for a living, looked to her like they were lying about it too. Okay. Well, we did what we could, best foot forward, to get that information out there. And I think that even more than Orlando Anderson, it may not be what people want to hear, but I think there's just as much information in the confession letter and information in the patent letter and information about Little Half Dead that has more going for it from an evidentiary standpoint and a fact pattern standpoint than even the Orlando Anderson thing did. Okay? And besides, if Vegas didn't believe Orlando Anderson did it, who do they think did? I haven't seen a whole list of new characters come up. Have you? You know? So anyway, that's the patent letter. The patent letter is a letter that confesses to a group of people having killed Tupac Shakur, and this letter was given to Chris Blatchford at Fox TV as a alternative to a sit-down interview, to where these people would have said the exact same thing on camera. They just got cold feet at the last minute, death row derangement syndrome probably, and they chickened out. They didn't do it. Okay. So maybe they had other thoughts, but that's the story of the patent letter. So hopefully that's helpful for you. All right. Nicole Murray, tell me if that was what you needed to know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think you gave it to her in full detail. Yeah, sorry, I was reading.
Yeah, 30-second version. You know, when RJ said this is going to be a 30-second version, you know there's trouble there.
That's like me asking.
Alexa, turn on my lights.
Like me asking. I'm going to ask one more question. I got one more question for you.
Sure. Hold on a second. I can do my magic act. Alexa, turn on my lights.
All right. Yeah, sorry. As you were explaining it here, I was reading something about the Tupac case from the documents that you sent me. Sorry about that. I get kind of sidetracked sometimes.
Yeah, no problem. Of course. And change it to this. Got to do a little bit of adjusting here on the.
You did have a question. You did have a question though. I think it was. It said, "What are your thoughts on the incident report from Vegas regarding Kevin Hackie as at the hospital, as to why Vegas Metro was so concerned about Compton PD now looking back?"
Somebody who has studied Battle for Compton, or at least caught one of my comments on this, because I think Breaking Into Investigative Reporting was a podcast or a web show that we did, and I made that point. I mean, we brought it out there that it was that in the narrative of the police report that dealt with the incident with Kevin Hackie, it said that they were concerned about the PR problem between Las Vegas police and Compton PD. They were concerned about the public relations of both. Well, why would Vegas be concerned about the public relations of both? Good question. And the only reason I say it's actually a really good question is because with what I've learned about what Vegas has been doing over the last several weeks, I've learned about what Vegas was really doing behind the scenes. There's a lot of narrative that I have to take a look at it and re-examine again and say, okay, when they say that they were more concerned about, the easiest answer is say, well, why were they concerned about the PR of Las Vegas and the PR of Compton? Why would Las Vegas PD give a shit about the PR of Compton? I think because, again, like I said, when Kevin Hackie was there and Kevin Hackie showed up, the place was pandemonium. It was just people, hundreds of people out in the front of the hospital. This guy got killed. The news vans are pulling up in mass, and they're, crowding the parking lots so patients can't get in or out because they got all these people clogging it up, and it's a big, giant thing. All the TV crews are there. Press is there, all the media from everywhere is there, MTV rolls up. It's this whole circus now in front of the hospital. And Vegas PD, they clearly had enough resources that they were dealing with the fight and all of that. But now, in addition to that, this other bigger event has gone on, and they're stretched absolutely thin, like just rail thin in terms of how much information that they could actually get working the case at the scene of the crime. All the were off duty in that for parties and after fight events and security at the MGM. All of these things and these resources are so stretched that when Kevin Hackie shows up, the place is like bedlam. I mean, it's pandemonium. The family's asking that he get moved, that's not a good spot. The Nation of Islam suddenly shows up out of the blue. It's like, oh, here's the new players, and these guys all show up, and now they want to be part of it. So there was just a lot of movement going on. Everybody knew that Death Row was drug dealing. Everybody knew what Death Row's reputation with violence was. Everybody knew what all the rumors were regarding Suge Knight and all that stuff. And in the middle of all of that, and Tupac had shot cops, in the middle of all of that, suddenly this shooting happens. So Vegas police is like, we don't know what the hell's going on, and they certainly don't know who to trust and who not to. And then Kevin Hackie shows up, okay? And take that toxic stew and then throw Kevin Hackie in the middle of it. He shows up. Apparently, he gets through by either making a reference that he had federal credentials or something he said that somebody didn't like. And I think what the more important takeaway was that Vegas didn't like the fact, and it was clear in the incident report, that they didn't like the fact that Kevin had somehow gotten past the first layer of security and was now showing up in an area that they had pretty much said nobody else was supposed to be in, and that would be close to the victims. And, because they were afraid of reprisal shootings. They thought maybe the people might come back and do it again. Everybody was worried about it. But you've got this whole chaos there, so nobody could catch a breath to try to think it through. Now, Vegas was upset about Kevin, and again, I think that this came from the person that he talked to, the first person that he got through. They came back and made a big stink about, oh, he said he was with the FBI. Oh, he said he was the ATF. He said he was this. He said he was that. Well, I think that guy was covering his ass because Kevin got through. He got, basically reamed because he didn't get the opportunity to stop him, and he let him through, and he probably shouldn't have. To save his own ass, he started saying all this stuff about the about being in the hospital and that, oh, he said he was with the FBI and all that. Listen, Kevin would have been in so much trouble had he made those comments to those guys to get in there, because even if you're a legitimate FBI agent and you go and you try to do the TV move of, saying, oh, I'm FBI and I belong in here. If you're not assigned to that case by the FBI and you say you're an FBI person, you have no fucking business being there. It's not like FBI agents, and Phil Carson will tell you this, it's not like FBI agents just run around and work on whatever the hell they want to work on, okay? If you're an FBI agent and you are not assigned to that case, you're actually not supposed to be there. So it would have been stupid for Kevin to say that he was an FBI agent. And against what you have Kevin's word against Vegas PD's word. And again, like I said, I think Vegas PD was trying to figure it out as they went. So much shit was flying at that moment that they were just trying to figure it out as they went. And here comes Kevin Hackie into the middle of this there. And I think that in terms of Compton PD, as soon as Kevin got there, they didn't understand the difference between the Compton school police, which was who Kevin worked for, and the regular Compton PD, because you don't usually hear about too many cities that have Compton's so bad they had a fucking school police. I mean, they had to have their own police department just for the school because things were so shitty in Compton. Okay, they had the regular police and the school police. Kevin worked for the school police. Okay, and they had the regular Compton PD. Well, Vegas, again, playing catch up and doing everything they can, scrambling to catch up on stuff, probably, and I can't say because I wasn't there, but my guess is that everything was catching up. They didn't understand the difference between Compton PD and Compton School Police. So when they said that they were interested in the public relations of that, if there is infighting between the cops and Kevin Hackie happening and reporters caught wind of it, and reporters made a big stink about Kevin Hackie being in there, they were looking out for the PR interests of both Compton PD and Vegas PD because they didn't want to have this infighting publicized. I think that's really what that's about. Again, because I asked the question, I was the first one to say, why would Vegas, unless, because again, there's that, there's a theory and I indulged it. I put it out there, then I'll own it, that about the helicopter and about the two, the trade-off going on between Vegas PD and Vegas PD buying a helicopter from Compton PD, and there was some sort of arrangement between the two of them. Again, maybe that's true. Did it have anything to do with anything? I don't know. But because we put it out there, there was this thinking at the time that perhaps Las Vegas and Compton PD had kind of a snug relationship. And certainly Tim Brennan and Bobby Ladd would like you to have believed that, because they were putting it out there like, oh, we were talking to Vegas all the time, and oh, they were coming down here, but they weren't buying what we had to say, and they came down and we gave them Orlando Anderson, but they wouldn't take him, and then we kept trying to tell them that, and then later on we found a gun and we sent him a gun, and they were trying to act like, they're all one big happy family, rather than saying Vegas wasn't telling us shit and we were persona non grata with Vegas. They're never going to admit that, okay, because it would be against their police egos to do that. They'd never admit it to be the truth like that. So when you have, oh no, I looked down and that was JMix says hello to everybody. Quick shout out from JMix.
Saved by the text.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, JMix is out there.
What's going on, James?
But at any rate, I think that the net answer of the whole thing about the PR, it wasn't well written in the police report, but I think that's really what it came down to. Was there was so much chaos going on there. They didn't understand. They knew Kevin worked for Compton Police. They weren't sure if that was Compton PD. They didn't understand the whole school police thing. And I think when they're talking about the PR, there was so many reporters and so much chaos going on at that time that if Kevin had gotten in and they started arguing with each other, this guy that let him in started running around saying, oh, he's saying he's a FBI guy, and the reporters picked up on that, man, that would have been the story of the night. Okay. And I think that they were looking at, when they said, for the sake of the PR relations of both of them, that, they wanted to kind of squash this and handle it as an internal problem.
Question for you.
So that was it. So any rate, and then so I see you've got the confession letter floating up there.
Yeah. When he became an informant, he was an informant, right? Is that what he was? An informant, not an actual undercover agent?
Well, what's interesting is that I don't think Kevin was ever officially deputized. But what's interesting about it is that I don't think he was just an informant either. I don't think that he was in some gray area in the middle. And because the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I've got the letters that prove it, they would not confirm or deny Kevin's involvement with the ATF or the FBI. If he had just been an informant, they probably would have said, yeah, he's an informant. But they would not confirm his employment. And they said the words employment. His employment with the ATF and the FBI, they did not want to talk about it. Okay. They didn't say they wouldn't confirm or deny it. They just said that it was off the table. They weren't going to discuss it. And the U.S. Attorney's Office was not going to allow Kevin to talk about his relationship with the FBI or the ATF.
Okay.
So whatever it wasn't so clean cut. Was he an informant? Was he an employee? Apparently he was employed at some level, junior G-man. I don't know what the fuck he was.
Okay.
But, but he was something. And it was clearly more than just an informant, because anybody could be an informant, and I think it was a little bit more involved than that.
Okay. Let me ask you this: before he went deep cover, so to speak,
right?
Was he? Because I think at some point he got caught with some AK-47s. Was that before he went deep cover, or was that after he went deep cover?
When he got caught with the guns?
He got caught with. I guess, is that a rumor that he got caught with AK-47s and then he?
No. Okay, no. The story behind that was very simple. He was set up. Kevin had guns in the trunk of his car. Okay. There was something going on with another police officer there at the Compton School Police, and this Compton police officer sent a lead to the LA Sheriff's Department, if I'm not mistaken, and said that a guy that he knew was selling weapons out of the back of his car, which, is very illegal.
Okay.
Selling firearms out of the back of his car. And it was a mysterious lead that the guy didn't even want to admit who he was. He was trying to use an alias and everything else to try to, admit that Kevin did this. And they went and they literally I got him, pulled him over, popped his trunk, and there were guns in the back of his truck and back of his car.
Okay.
Didn't mean he was selling them. He had guns in the back of his car. Usually in the state of California, that's where you put your guns. If you're going to have guns or rifles or anything else, that's where they're going to be. You can't carry them in your car. You can't carry them in your front seat. You can't carry them in your back seat. The safest place to put a gun is in the trunk of your car because you can't get to it in a moment of passion. Ask Frank Liga or Kevin Gaines. Okay? They had their guns. They know. So that's where it was. And they came and they popped him. And based on that one anonymous tip, they brought charges against him, and it was kangaroo court. He got slammed with it, and boom, he was in jail.
And he
has been exonerated of that.
Okay, but
after it was over, he was exonerated of that. They went back and they reopened the case. They looked at it again, and he was exonerated of those charges. So I don't give a shit what other people say about Kevin was convicted felon and all that. He was exonerated of those charges.
Okay, so but as far as like that being taking place, as a result of that, did he go undercover because of that, or he went undercover because something else enticed him?
No. That stuff happened. No. He was undercover long before that.
Okay.
Now,
gotcha.
Yeah, this was later. And again, I think it was because they found out, certain people found out that Kevin was involved in somehow either spying on death row or giving information about death row, kind of violating that code of not talking,
the street code.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That nonsense.
But
and that was why the thing happened there. And by the way, before we stay on Kevin anymore, listen, here's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have said, and I don't know where they get this, and this is not, and fortunately it's not Easy Boy Sunny 88, so I can't bag on him for that one.
Yeah.
So anyway, I beat up on him yesterday. Here's the thing. Somebody said, and I've seen it roll through the things, and I know that it's come up on the A-hole channel, that I'm going to call it now the A-hole channel. Over on the A-hole channel, there have been people that said that I have said that I believe that Little Half Dead wrote Brenda's Got a Baby. Okay? And now I believe this whole confession letter because I believe that he wrote Brenda's Got a Baby, and they've used that one thing, that little string, that one thread, to try to discredit me and discredit the whole confession, the patent letter, and all that. Okay, here's the bottom line. So I want to make this clear so everybody understands this, because I've never said otherwise. Okay? I do stand behind the patent letter, but what I do not believe the Little Half Dead wrote Brenda's Got a Baby. I don't believe that it was even based on something that Little Half Dead wrote. Maybe it was. I don't believe it was, but I don't have any evidence to the yes or the no. Neither does anybody else for that matter, by the way. They just look and say, well, Little Half Dead's a retard. He's not that talented. Okay, that he could write Brenda's Got a Baby. Okay, well, maybe that's true. I don't know. I don't know the guy, so maybe he is, maybe he's not. But again, we've talked about Death Row Records stealing songs. We've talked about Death Row Records stealing demos. There have been plenty of people that admitted to doing that. Plenty of people who've talked about that, admitted that was a common practice at the time. So we know that there are elements of the letter that actually fit into what we know to be facts. Okay, it corroborates a lot of facts. It talks about that. And by the way, the letter being written by two gang guys who were not recording artists. Okay, think about that. Those two gang guys were not. They were known gang guys. Tim Brennan wrote about Danny Patton in his big Compton report to go do the gang raids that they brought Vegas down to see, that big Dog and Pony show. He mentioned Danny Patton's name in his own documentation there. So they knew who, and he was called White Boy, by the way. And that's why they knew who he was. Okay. Funny, though, when they did all the gang raids, the gang sweeps, that was one house that they skipped over, was Patton's house. So that never happened. But, excuse me. But Pattons, who are non-musicians, okay, somehow, and by the way, and then Robert Soria or his sister, who are even further away. I think Robert Soria was like a bricklayer, okay, at the time. I think he laid bricks on a construction crew, okay. None of these motherfuckers know anything about the music industry. or demo stealing, or even what that would mean, or anything else like that. Okay? All the people that we have said were responsible for the content of that letter, none of them have a musical background. So tell me how the hell they knew about demo stealing or even knew how to integrate it into the story of the letter if they don't have a musical background. Okay? I mean, that's when I always bag on Greg Kading when he said that Tupac was going to audit Death Row Records. He thought that he meant he was going to do a tax audit on him. Okay? And he doesn't understand what a record industry audit is all about. Okay? How naive is that? Okay? But these guys who are supposed to be complete liars have no musical background, and they're talking about things like demo stealing, okay? And then they talk about Half Dead writing Brenda's Got a Baby. Well, two possibilities can exist. We don't know that back in his youth, little Half Dead wasn't running around telling his buddies, hey, psst, you know that Brenda's Got a Baby? I wrote that. Pac ripped that off from me. I wrote that. Okay, shit, I could say that right now. R.J. Bond wrote Brenda's Got a Baby and Tupac ripped it off.
Don't start that. Don't start that.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, R.J. Bond says he wrote Brenda's Got a Baby. Listen, everybody that I've interviewed, and I've interviewed from the engineers to Atron Gregory to people that were physically there when he was writing the lyrics of Brenda's Got a Baby, say that Tupac wrote that song. It was Tupac's song. Now, was he inspired by something else? Who knows? You can be inspired by a lot of things. Tupac read a lot of books, read a lot of poetry, and a lot of his works, including the Machiavelli reference, were derivative. Okay, does that now knuckleheads? I mean, I'm not putting anybody down, but we all understand what that word means, right? Derivative. Derivative means it's derived from something else. It's not necessarily original. It's an original work derived by something else. So that's your word of the day, kids. Derivative. That's the word today. Today's word is derivative. So when these guys come out and he writes a song called Brenda's Got a Baby, where did he get the idea from? I don't know. I mean, he did changes. He did songs. He took Bruce Hornsby in the Range and put the music behind it. Okay, you know, he didn't write that.
Brenda's Got a Baby.
Hornsby did.
He got it from a news article. I mean, he got it from a news article. Is where he got it from.
Well, yeah, that's what he said. Okay, yeah. That's the official story. Okay, do I believe it? Do I not? Well, I have no reason not to believe it. But I've talked to so many people that were there that the actual physical writing of that song was Tupac. So I have never said, and go ahead, knuckleheads, go look it up. I have never said that Tupac did not write Brenda's Got a Baby or that Little Half Dead wrote Brenda's Got a Baby. I have said repeatedly that according to the people that wrote that letter, that dictated that letter, their story, they said that Little Half Dead was taking credit for writing Brenda's Got a Baby. Okay? That's like third person twice removed, which is what they call hearsay. Okay? But that was what he claimed to people, and that's why he was so mad. He was upset, and he lost his deal when I guess he had some problems with Death Row, and he lost his deal, and they sold him down the river to another to a recording company, who, you know, Suge sold his contract out to another recording company. And by the way, how the hell would these patent guys know all this about Little Half Dead? We pretty much verified most of the stuff that's in here in terms of things that were done. And was he with a different recording label? Yes, Little Half Dead recorded with a different recording label. He didn't record with Death Row Records. He had another contract that was signed down. So how the hell would these guys know that? Okay? I mean, I don't think Little Half Dead has that big of a fan following that even back in those days when he was nobody, that they would know how he got his recording contract, and that he might have been with Death Row, and then he got his recording contract with this other recording company.
Priority Records. Did you ever hear any of his music?
Little Half Dead stuff? Not until we got into the Little Half Dead thing. I'd never heard of it.
And
again, that was the first time I saw the first. It's not very good. The first time, you know, I mean, I'm no rap expert, but
it wasn't. No, it wasn't that good.
It's not on my top 5 playlist. I don't, you know, say, hey, you know, Siri, give me top 5 Little Half Dead songs.
Right. Well, people.
And I don't think Little Half Dead has a channel on Sirius yet, and I don't think.
No, I don't think so. But people always argue that he wasn't around the rap industry during that time. But if you go back and look at
That's not true.
yeah,
That's not
exactly.
true. Rolling Stone and other articles, Vibe and other places confirmed that he was with Snoop during that time.
Yeah,
We have written documented evidence of that.
Yeah, he was.
Why the hell would people say that? That's dumb.
Yeah, he was with 213, and then not only that, but his appearance. I think he did come on Welcome to Death Row, and then one of his appearances is actually in Dr. Dre's video. I'm trying to remember which one. I think it's Dre Day. He's actually one of those rappers. It's like rapping for food or something like that. You got to go take a look at it.
Right, yeah. Rapping for food stamps.
But not to kill your vibe on what you're talking about here. But going back to Kevin Hackie, who approached him? Do you know who approached him about going undercover into death row?
No idea.
Or the reason for it?
No.
No.
No. I'm sure he probably says it in his interviews with the LAPD. I can tell you what he told the LAPD. Because his interview, I've got transcripts of his interview at the LAPD.
Okay.
There's an answer to that question. I just don't have it sitting in front of me, nor has it really been priority on my list.
Got you.
Because Kevin Hackie. Okay, and by the way, guys, so let's just kind of put this in perspective. Kevin Hackie's altercation with the Vegas Metropolitan Police Department in the hospital doesn't do fuck all for the investigation of who killed Tupac. Okay, doesn't. Let's try to. It's a good question, but that's why I don't spend a lot of time worrying about that, because it doesn't get us anywhere closer to who killed Tupac. Nowhere. It's interesting. It's incidental, but it doesn't get us anywhere closer at all to who killed Tupac. No different than what did Tupac have for dinner that night? Did he eat a coney at the MGM hot dog stand, or did he go have a nice dinner that night? Did he eat it all? I don't know. I forgot to ask Frank. Did Tupac eat anything that day? Maybe he was feeling maybe that 50 blows thing because he was on some sort of a diabetic rush or something. I don't, maybe he was on a sugar high. I don't know. I don't know these things. Okay. But I don't care because it's not material to the investigation. So I don't mind talking about, like I said, all good questions. Okay. All good questions. But not all good questions are relevant questions to where we need to go to get it done, so we don't spend a lot of energy burning up on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why. And with that, we gracefully close the door on Kevin Hackie's involvement. If we can talk about Kevin more later, but as far as his altercation with the Vegas Police Department, that it just doesn't. I don't mind talking about it. It just doesn't. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get us anywhere.
You think Kevin Hackie listens to our show?
No, Kevin. No, Kevin's so over this whole thing. Kevin's done, and I got to give him credit. I mean, Frank stayed in that world. Frank stayed in the world there because he was making some money off of it. He was known for it. He was kind of celebrity famous for it. Kevin chose another route, and that was he stuck to his business. He had a security company. He was doing his work, doing his thing, and he doesn't need that aggravation. Okay. He doesn't need to play in the sandbox of people that want to make your life miserable. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, look what it got. Anybody who gets involved or starts getting into that thing, all your laundry's drug out. Okay, where you live is drug out. What you do is drug out. Everything's drug out. So it's just it's not an effective strategy. And Kevin, he did his interviews with the LAPD. He did his interviews with us on the assassination movies. He said what he had to say. And a bunch of people saying nah doesn't change anything. Okay. And Kevin did write to Reggie. I've seen it, and everybody's seen it. He did write to Reggie, and he told Reggie, he said, let the past be the past. Let's move on. Don't indulge anymore with the discussions on these things. Don't get into it. That's for other people to do. Don't you get involved with it. I'm not going to get involved with it anymore. Let's let the past, for God's sake, be the past. And that's it. And, it was not an apology. It wasn't an apology letter. It was simply, hey, let's, if you need a job and you're hard up for money, I can give you a reference. That's what people do. It's kind of amazing to me that somebody that would be a deacon in a church that would preach about forgiveness and being a Christian and moving on and forgiving the sins of the past and moving forward, that when somebody actually tries to do that, they basically say, well, that's not his real motive. His real motive was he wanted to apologize, and he was apologizing. Okay, no, he was saying, all right, there's a time when we should all just move forward and let the people that want to deal with the history of things, let them deal with it, but let's not indulge them anymore and keep fueling the fire. And that's what he said. That's
all right. Well, there you go. You can close the book on that then. But it looks like we have some shout outs to some new people that just jumped into the chat room, so to speak. Jake Style, and then you got Jamar Hatton.
Jamar, what's happening?
We didn't see him on the last last live stream.
Yes, the knuckleheads are showing up. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the expectations is on Sundays that we're not going to get a big turnout. You know, people are getting prepared for Monday or whatnot.
They're living their life. Well, I mean, it's still it's later on tonight. It's later on the East Coast and stuff like that. But again, we're never going to get anybody if we don't let people know ahead of time so that they can make time out to listen for the show. That's the wonderful thing about our podcast is we put it out there. You can listen to it anytime you want to. The live streams are a little bit more difficult because we haven't established a rhythm yet to say, okay, Thursday nights at 7:00, and then when we actually got people on at 7:00, we were late. But we haven't yet hit that trend where people like on JMKAZE's channel and every place like that know when to get those hits and when to look for it. We haven't gotten there yet. So our goal is to get more about that, to get more consistent with our message and all that. Again, no indictment, but it's just one of those things about setting up a channel, building an audience.
Consistency is what it is.
Yeah, building an audience, and so that's really what it comes down
to. But speaking of the Spotify, the podcast, do you have an idea when that's going to get started back up again?
I
mean, I'll know that intimate details, but I'm just speaking for the fans.
No,
here.
I think it's going to be. It'll be starting in July. We're going to fire them back up in July, and there's plenty of shows out there that you can see that I know you have not seen. Okay, everybody that you've not listened to, you can go back and listen to more podcasts. There are ones out there. There's, good 16, 17 podcasts out there. You can listen to those podcasts in another couple of weeks. We'll be right fresh with them. I think we'll just do it after the 1st of July. I think we'll kick it off there and maybe do a big one for 4th of July weekend. We can do that.
Yeah, there you go.
We can do that. All right, so couple more, and then I'm gonna bail.
All right.
So let's see here. All right. Easy Boy Sunday said, any interview with Larry from Death Row front office, Frank's friend says childhood. I will take the 5th on that.
Is he still around? I guess
there isn't. I'm not saying there is. That if we have one, you will see it.
Is he around?
He's in Chicago.
Okay, got you.
All right. Let's see here. Big J21, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Says Lil Half Dead was in the background in studio with Tupac. Well, there you go. I mean, can't get too much more close in orbit than that. If you're taking in the same picture, I mean, that's what they always want to hang Donald Trump with. He's always in these pictures with like Jeffrey Epstein, all these really bad people, and he keeps getting in all these pictures with them. And he's like, hey, I'm a celebrity. I take pictures with anybody. I don't know who they are. And so if Tupac and Lil Half Dead were in the same picture, pretty much says it all right there. And if you have that picture, let me know. I'd like to see what the video is. Show me a video of that, and please I hope it's not one of those like MGM footage kind of things where it's like, okay, that's Lil Half Dead. Okay, let's make sure we're pretty clear on that. Okay, all right. So Lil Half Dead lied about knowing Tupac back in the day, so he lied on the A&E show. Said he wasn't around then. Yeah, absolutely. I think he absolutely lied on it. I don't think in that A&E show, and I'm embarrassed because I was actually a part of it. I think that A&E show lied about a lot of things. I think there was a lot of misstatements that were made in there, and they were made intentionally, and they were made to sell a narrative. And I think that the editing was manipulated. to take things that people said and cut them and make them a certain way. I don't trust the people that produced it. I don't trust the host. I had dinner with Ben Crump. I know him personally. Like I said, I went and had dinner with him. But what I saw was basically a travesty, and I don't believe that. I mean, kudos for them to get the interview, but again, he could say that all day long. It doesn't make it true.
Question for you though on that: if you're at liberty to say, and you don't have to say the exact amount, but did you get paid for your appearance on that show?
No, I did not. I did not get paid for my appearance on the show. I got paid for giving them footage of Frank Alexander and Michael Moore.
Gotcha.
Loaned out I loaned out footage.
Okay.
And I got paid for giving them some stock footage from interviews that I'd shot. Otherwise, they wouldn't have any. I mean, I pretty much got the corner on the market of Frank Alexander interviews, at least well done ones. I mean,
yeah.
You could go to the guy with the glass eyeball, the fucked up eye, and the interview Frank did with him, and he shot in a poorly lit hotel room, and no broadcast network is going to look to that and say, oh, that's quality right there. Let's use that. Okay, doesn't happen. Okay,
yeah.
It's a YouTube video, and that's all it'll ever be. There's a thing, by the way, guys. There's another word here that we should learn. It's called broadcast quality. Okay. There's actually a standard when you go to put a TV show on A&E or the Tiger King or whatever. The footage that you have has to be lit a certain way. It has to look a certain way. It has to meet up to certain quality control standards that are set up by the media companies, the people who are actually showing the thing. I mean, who the hell wants to watch a TV show and you can't see anything? Okay. So these standards are set up. They're called broadcast quality standards. And so when you get the stuff like the guy sitting around with Frank in the hotel room over a little bitty table and the two of them sitting there, rapping about whatever, even if that was the most interesting information that Frank had ever said, or he dropped some bomb, no broadcaster is going to use that in a million, trillion, zillion years because it's not well lit. It looks like crap. It's a crappy background, hotel curtain background, or as they call them, shower curtain interviews.
They were in a Motel 6.
Yeah, that was right. Motel 6. It was like I said, they actually have a name for it. They're called shower curtain interviews for that reason, because back in the old days, that's what they did. They just took wherever you were, they threw a shower curtain up behind you, and in different colors, white shower curtain, whatever, and they put it up behind you, and that blurred away whatever other background that you were doing there. So, let's see here. Let's see. So somebody said, "Oh, Sonny's back again." And says, "Can you clarify where exactly Nate Dogg was when the shots rang out? I read he was at Club 662. I've also read he was in the Caravan several cars back. No, I have not. Nate Dogg is actually a very complicated matter for me. And Kazi, you haven't even heard this one. It's true. He's dead now, so I don't give a fuck. I can say whatever. But it's still true. I actually, and this is funny because you think, RJ is just like this guy hanging out there and stuff, doesn't, other than Frank, never got involved in anybody, didn't know anybody, really didn't know any of the guys. No, listen. Nate Dogg was actually trying to pick up on my girlfriend at the time. Okay. I had been seeing a girl, her name is Clover, beautiful woman. We were dating, and her phone just kept blowing up because Nate Dogg met her at a nightclub. I think it was in Burbank. I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was there. And Nate Dogg met her, and because she was a very attractive woman, tried to pick up on her. And somehow he got her phone number, and this is before I actually met her. And once I met her and we hit it off, because once I meet a woman, we just hit it off, and that's that. That's the power of the RJ magnetism. At least it was years ago anyway, when I was good looking. And back before I was old and fat. But the thing about it was that Nate Dogg kept, and I had to call Frank about it too, because I'm like, this dude will not fucking stop calling. And she told him, don't call anymore. I got a boyfriend now. Da-da-da-da. And I told Frank, I'm like, Frank, you run around with these guys. I mean, I don't know this guy from Adam, but he's annoying the shit out of me. And, I'm about ready to say, yeah, why don't you come over and start some shit. But ultimately, Frank interceded. He made a couple of phone calls, and then the phone call stopped. So there was definitely some history there with Nate Dogg and me personally. Oh, RJ, that guy doesn't know anybody. Okay, you know, there's that, and so I really have kind of not really gotten into the whole Nate Dogg thing, other than, you know, it was kind of sad how he ended up and what happened to him and all that. You know, kind of sad. I personally don't give two fucks about a guy because he's, I didn't know him, and all I know is this: he was just a pain in the ass. Get in the middle of my romantic life, and didn't like that very much. So.
You were picking up hot chicks back in the day, RJ? Is that what you're telling me?
Dude, I was Mac Daddy, man. Absolutely, yeah. That was, yeah. It was a scene, man. It was a thing. Frank knew Clover too. I wish he was here. He'd have vouched. But yeah, it was one of those situations where he got, started getting in my lane. Everybody stay in your own lane. He started swerving over into my lane. I didn't like it, but I didn't want to make a scene about it, and I also didn't want. Whatever baggage he had in terms of people that he knew and stuff like that to, suddenly start becoming a problem for everybody. So that's why I called Frank, and Frank made a couple phone calls, and that's it. And it stopped. So, that's the happy ending of that story. Let's see. So, see, you guys get all these stories. Don't even know these stories are there. It's just like, who knew?
Yeah. So what happened, man? You decided it was time for you to settle down? Is that what life brought you to?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yes, it was. Sure it was. Let's see here. Natasha LJ, welcome to the show. Watching y'all since JMix time. Yep, I know. I've seen that name many times. Welcome. Glad you're here. Let's see here. And Nicole Murray, I just happened to see the alert, caught me off guard that you guys are going live. And I'd like to know, maybe, is there ways that we can send alerts ahead of time? Probably not. Although, what we should probably do is I know you can schedule on YouTube. I think you can schedule like premiere stuff. So maybe what we do is schedule a couple of like videos, like one day until the next live show or 2 days to the next live show, and we just put them up, schedule them to go off in the morning so it hits people's reminders.
Yeah.
Day, 2 days, 3 days before, and then we just flip them those reminders, play a little 2-minute video. It says, hey, don't forget, set your calendars. We're going to be on Friday night at 8 o'clock, whatever, and do that. I think we could probably get away with doing that. That would be so cool.
Well, this today was an experiment. I wanted to see what the turnout would be, but next time what I'll do is do a video during the course of the day to make certain that people jump in. But I did have another idea that I think would have been pretty cool, was to stream Battle for Compton or one of the Tupac assassination movies.
We can do that. I think that's actually that's actually one of those things that is really catching on, where they've had, like, I saw Pierce Brosnan, who played James Bond. They played one of the James Bond movies, and he did like a question and answer like while it was playing. To me, that would be like the most fucking annoying thing on the planet to hear. But it'd be like sitting with 5 people just kibitzing the whole time, talking like, let me watch a fucking movie. I don't care, But there seems to be an audience for it. So if the knuckleheads all get together, and we'll do a knucklehead vote. Knuckleheads, RJ Bond, what I know at Outlook.com. Hit up Kazi, hit up me. I don't care. Let us know. That's what you guys want to do. And we want to put something like that. And the knuckleheads I need consensus from the knuckleheads. If the knuckleheads say that that's what they want to do, then that's what we do. I had no problem with that.
Can you type your email so that people know it? I know you say it, but I think sometimes...
And now it's in the chat. Okay?
Okay.
RJ Bond, what I know at Outlook.com.
Let me go ahead and put show on that.
So Jake Style says, RJ, so is a prosecutor ever going to pick this case up, man, and take it to trial? Man, the evidence is there. It's pissing me off because everybody knows Reggie played a big part on Tupac's murder. Well, Jake Style, the good news about that, I think, came from the evidence that we've just brought forward in the last 3 weeks, and the statements that Vegas police have made about the fact that it is an ongoing case and that the reason they don't want to drop the police files in everybody's laps is because they're worried about alerting persons of interest. Okay. I personally think, and this is, and it's funny because I just watched an interview with the detective at one of the interviews I did, where the detective actually said, if you have a case, the standard is prosecution. If you have a case that hasn't met the standard of prosecution, you're almost there, but you need like one more thing to get there. You don't go and take a chance because you only got one shot at the whole thing. You only got one shot. If you don't present a good case, or you have just a marginal case and they have a good David Kenner lawyer or some shark lawyer that might be able to play the words, if your case is not absolutely airtight, you get one shot at it. You'll never be able to go back and do it again. So 20 years worth of investigation, even 10 or 5 years worth of investigation is wasted, and no one wants that. So I think that Vegas is in a position where I think they know who did it. I think they have it all figured out, and they're waiting for one more thing to happen. There's no statute of limitations on murder. I think that this case can be prosecuted, even in absentia. So that means that even if somebody that gets involved is, suddenly passes away, they can still bring it out, and they can still bring the evidence out, and they can prosecute in absentia and just say, well, we can't sentence the guy because he's dead. So that's that. Okay. And by the way, they could do that with Orlando Anderson too, if they really thought he did it. Okay. Boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom.
Okay. It would be the easiest route out of the whole case in general. It's just, if they felt the evidence was strong enough, they would just say he did it, and that's it. We're done. Don't ask us any more questions. It's a done deal.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. So let's see here. Here. Kevin James, glad we can entertain you. I'm dying over here. You must have liked that story, the Nate Dogg story. Yeah, that's crazy. 2 Chainz stole one of my girls. Hell no. Yeah. No. Well, the good news is Nate Dogg didn't steal anything from me at all. No, he was just being a dog. That's what they do. Trying to hump the leg. That's it. Let's see here. You can do a reaction video. You can do a reaction video to Battle for Compton. Well, let me give you a preview of that. That's my reaction video to Battle for Compton.
Hey, I did have a question for you. It's not related to this, but and you don't have to say exactly where. When you went
BJ21, yes, we can do a reaction video. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just goofing.
When you went to high school, did you go to high school in California, or did you go to high school in another state?
I went to high school in California.
Okay. All right. I wondered about that because I know that you lived in Kentucky at one point, and I thought maybe you went to high school.
I lived in Kentucky. I lived in Kentucky for 10 years.
Okay.
But no. What you got something against Kentucky high school? Jeez. Man. That's not exactly racist, but man, I could almost cross that bar. What you got against Kentucky schools?
I've never been that in that part of the country.
Yeah, but Kevin James says started dating DJ Short. She started acting stupid. That's wait a minute, but okay, because I bullshit about a lot of stuff here. That is actually a true story, true, absolute God's truth about that, about the story with the girl and Nate Dogg. That's true, and that was a lot of my aversion to, because it was actually. That was 98, 99 time frame, right? 98 actually time frame. And that was actually one of my aversions to, I wasn't even doing like the assassination movie. That wasn't going to come for another 8 years.
Uh-huh.
Okay. That's how tied up in that group of people, if you will, that I was running that close to hot on all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it wasn't because Nate Dogg, but that was actually Nate Dogg, and that whole thing was actually kind of one of the things that made me reluctant to want to get into the whole thing. I'm like, if I got to deal with fucking idiots like Nate Dogg, then I'm not doing this. Okay. If I got to deal with guys like that, forget it. And that was, hey, let's interview some people. If I got to interview that dude, that's going to be a hell of an interview. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. So, all right. So again, the preview of the reaction video.
Okay. Dude. Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, we should do that. We should stream Battle. I mean, because we talked about it.
This picture of RJ in the corner snoring, That would be good. Yeah, here's RJ's reaction.
We talked about that the other day because I think that there's a YouTube user who has your video and they have like over, I want to say 653,000 views. So
Yeah.
I think we should.
Nice. Thanks. Thanks for giving it home. Meanwhile, us producers, honestly, when the first Tupac assassination came out, man, I was Attila the Hun. I had my saber. I would cut the heads off of anybody that put that shit out online. Anybody did it. The chat boards, I was going up against ISPs. I was hitting people with copyright, right and left, right and left, right, left. Mm-hmm. Battle for Assassination 2, right, left, right, left, right, that. Even Battle for Content at the beginning, I was really hard on people like that. To tell you the truth, I've really relaxed on that because it's kind of like shoveling sand against the tide. For everyone that pops up, there's 5 that don't. But the other part of it was like, look, I finally had to come to the conclusion that that at some point it becomes a loss leader, I would rather somebody watch the movie if they're going to watch it for free and get the information that they need to get so that maybe they'll watch a live stream. Maybe they'll watch another movie that I do. If they watch the other one and it becomes kind of a cult favorite or it becomes a movie that clearly there's a lot of people interested in it. If I got 658,000 views on one movie, mm-hmm. that tells me that there's a lot of people interested in what we have to say. Okay. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's probably just like Reggie watched it 650,000 times, because he had to make notes or something,
Yeah, no, I'm not certain who watched it, but yeah, that's a lot of people, man. 653. Mm-hmm.
653,000. So I would like to know how much that guy got paid from that, and who that person might be, and then maybe we'll have a little conversation about that. But like I said, I started not really going after people on the copyright claims on the movies because it was like, well, if I want to give somebody a choice between not seeing the movie because they can't afford the $5 or whatever it is, and they got to see the movie for free, I'd rather them get the message out and have those people understand what the stories we're telling, because that's the only way to get ahead of it. If your Murder Rap puts it out there and it's out online and they've got 500,000 views or 1 million views, then we need to make sure we get enough sets of eyeballs looking at it too. So again, but that's kind of how I feel about that now. Now, wait till later, maybe we'll start whacking some things. 650,000 views is a lot of views, mm-hmm. but sometimes also those things can go viral too. So
yeah.
All right. Yes, I think Jamar, I think the reaction video is a good idea. Let's set that up, cuz. Let's figure it out. We'll set that up.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Maybe the next live stream. Unless you got something else up your sleeve.
No. That'll be okay.
Okay.
Okay. Huh?
We'll look at it because I know we talked about doing a re-examination of the MGM footage from Las Vegas.
Right. I think that's a good idea.
We could point out.
Well, knuckleheads, you got my email address, knuckleheads. Let's take a vote. Okay. Majority rules. Okay. If you say nothing, then we'll default to one or the other, and then you have no right to be upset because you didn't have a voice. You have a voice. You could say something, but if you don't exercise your right to vote, you can't complain about the results of the elections. Okay. That's the way it works. That's our society, our democracy, which they're trying to tear down in Seattle right now.
We're offering $500 if you can point out RJ in the MGM Grand video footage.
Yes. You know what? You'd have a better time pointing out RJ Bond in the movie Titanic than you would at the MGM Grand, because actually that's where I was during that time. I was working on the movie Titanic. All right. Let's see. Brahma, you know what? I'm going to mutilate this. Bran McCorn.
Bran with corn.
Bran with corn. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. We're not trying to beef. I'm just literally trying to sound it out because I don't want to say it wrong. He's got all 3 of the movies. Well done. Welcome to the show. And are we going to work on a Biggie doc? Yeah, you missed that at the beginning of the show. Biggie has not had the RJ Bond treatment yet. Rue the day that he does, because we're going to get some shit talked about.
Okay, I got one thing for you, and I think maybe at that point we could wrap it up.
Okay.
So on the video from the MGM Grand, and just to let you know, I don't believe it, but they speculate that Reggie Senior is in that video. What advantage?
I'm melting. I'm melting.
What advantage would there be if he was standing there at the investigation site?
With an MGM jacket on that he went borrowed it from the laundry room, I suppose. All right.
Hey man, I need to borrow your jacket.
See him sneaking down to the laundry. This one's too wrinkled. Does it fit? Yeah, it kind of fits. All right. If it don't fit, you must have quit. Remember that. Okay.
What advantage? Right. What advantage? I mean, I don't see an advantage if he was there. What is the advantage of him being there?
Okay. Well, okay. So I maybe you and I talked about this, but I haven't really maybe talked to the knuckleheads about it. But I'm going to say, knuckleheads, listen to me. When you go and you do a major project like Battle for Compton, okay, if you notice, other than the live stream, it's not, I mean, I do some videos and that, but my major point of business is not making YouTube videos. I'm not trying to seek to get 10 million viewers and I make my money off of stupid YouTube videos. I make commercial documentaries that are sold to the public, and they're on DVD, Blu-ray, Netflix, Amazon. They're all over the place. That's what I do. That's the way I output my information, new information, or information I think is important or pertinent, okay? Mm-hmm. But to do that, you still have to stay legal in the things that you do, because you don't want to get sued. And if you do get sued, at least you have a reasonable defense that you can use against the people that are coming after you for various things, okay? And you do that. Now, one of the things that you have to also do is make sure that you're not just making fucking ridiculous statements, okay. When you put out DVDs and documentaries. So, like, for example, the helicopter, Compton PD, Vegas PD, helicopter. Boy, that would have been fantastic just to say, oh, they did it. Well, I had to go and sit down at Compton City Hall. I had to go down to City of Compton and sit down there and look through. I spent an entire day doing it. Look through years worth of every week having city council minutes and going through every meeting they had to see if I could find anything regarding the sale of a helicopter to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. That shit just appear by itself. It didn't magically just float down and land on my lap, okay? In addition to that, I have to hire experts. I have to hire people like Susan Constantine. I mean, what do you think? I kind of fell across the nation's leading expert in handwriting, or not handwriting, on truth detection? Mm-hmm. No. When you're in the line of business that I'm in, you have a short list, okay? It's, there it is, right there. That's the short list.
Yeah.
Of names of people that you can go to protect you legally. So when you say that person is that person on the videotape, and I'm sure of it, take it to the bank, that person is there, okay? You better have somebody backing you up on that. You better have somebody who knows a little bit more about things than you do, because if you're the guy out saying it, any one of these people, and I love the knuckleheads, okay? But Jake Style can say that all day long. You can say it's all day long. Jake Style doesn't have anything for anybody to come after if you say that's the guy and you accuse him of that. It's freedom of speech. You can do that all day long. But when you put out a commercial documentary and you have distributors and you have producers and you have people that depend on you for their income that gets generated from it, it's not just about me. It's about all the other people that get paid when these things get made, and a whole circle of life in terms of people that get paid when you do a commercial documentary. And if you get sued, or if the documentary gets taken down, or there's anything like that, then you're stuck. Guys, I have had people that are experts in this look at the MGM tapes. Okay?
I have it up.
I have it up.
I have it up. Okay. Go ahead. Continue on your point.
Yep. The biggest thing about it's funny because that particular angle looks like he's got a little Hitler mustache, which is even funnier. Yes, yes. Adolf Hitler was there, and he was black. I didn't know that. Black and wore glasses. Okay. The one thing that you need to understand about it, and anybody who understands what was told to me by people that are experts in this kind of identification, facial recognition stuff, have said the ears aren't right. Where the ears sit. The only thing that the two have in common is he's a light-skinned man, built generally the same, and has horn-rimmed or circular glasses on. Other than that, the forehead is off, the head shape is off. Reggie Senior doesn't have, he's more of a round back of the head. This guy's got more of a more rectangular type of head than Reggie Senior has. The ears, Reggie Senior's ears are higher up on his head, a little more centered in the middle of his head than this guy. This guy's ears are a little bit further down on his head. There are some major differences to the people that know this. And no offense to anybody else, but unless you're a facial recognition expert and you want to take on the facial recognition experts and say it absolutely is, I have to go with the people that I know. And again, it's not just my opinion. Okay, it's people that I pay that do research, people that are experts in the fields that they are. You think I'd have gone on there with somebody and said that the patents were lying on the video that Kading put out if I didn't have somebody like a Susan Constantine in my back corner?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't believe that's
Fuck
him.
no.
I don't believe that's him.
Okay? So I just have to let you guys know that at some point, you can say it all day long. And listen, if that's what you want to believe, I love you. Believe it, okay? If that's what you want to believe. And maybe one day when, we're all dead and standing at the pearly gates and I'm standing next to Reggie Senior and the guy in the hat, I could say, oh, yeah, you're the same person. Wow, who knew? Okay?
But
See what the guy
but going back to it, what is the advantage of let's just say it was him. We both agree it's not him, but let's just say it was him. What advantage is there?
Why would he want to put himself on camera at the scene of an altercation?
Right.
Is that what you're asking
exactly.
me? Why would Reggie Wright Sr., knowing that they have video cameras in the casino, because there are casinos outside of Compton, like in Inglewood and Hawthorne, the Commerce Casino. There are casinos right around city of Compton. Everybody knows there, and he's probably been to Vegas before. They know there's cameras in there. So why would Reggie Wright Sr. be standing in front of a camera that he knows exists, looking around to make sure that everybody sees who he is, no baseball cap, and wearing a light tan sport coat that is clearly looks like one of the ones that the guys that work at the MGM were wearing? The question is why would somebody do that? I mean, yes, if you get caught on camera, yes, but it's a fucking casino. There's cameras everywhere. Why in the world would you think, oh my God, I got seen by a camera, and you're at a casino? Okay. Yeah, maybe if you're Greg Kading breaking into a storage locker at somebody's apartment that they put a hidden camera in, you're surprised by the fact that there's a camera inside the storage locker. That could take you off guard, and that would be because you wouldn't expect there to be a camera when you're trying to break into somebody's storage locker. You would expect them to have a camera there, knowing that you're asking to show up, try to break into a locker. Okay, that's one of my all-time favorite videos. But you don't go to a casino where there's cameras and say, "Gee, I'm shocked that I got some." No. Reggie Wright Sr. would have no reason. Now,
he didn't even follow.
Say,
he didn't even follow.
As an official act of Compton PD, maybe his job was to, just in case Orlando Anderson had anything going on, then maybe I could arrest him and take him to Compton. That's even silly. Now, but having said that, now I will say one thing that I think it's relevant. And it doesn't say that this is Reggie Wright Sr., okay? But there only is one possible argument that might carry some water, not in this particular video, but to say that Reggie Wright Sr. may have been in Vegas, unless he said he wasn't, and he's got proof that he wasn't, okay? Unless he says that or shows the proof that he wasn't. One of the things I heard from somebody that was well aware of the situation said that there were no less than 20 intelligence officers, okay, from Vegas PD working that weekend in Vegas. And he believed that at least that many were working from LAPD, LA Sheriff's Department, were also there with intelligence officers. Because after all, I mean, what detective wouldn't want to take his wife for a free weekend in Vegas? And he just got to work and do intelligence work. Okay. But there were eyeballs all over the place because every gun-toting knucklehead, no, not our knuckleheads, but those knuckleheads, any gun-toting knucklehead that had a record, was a drug trafficker, was in Vegas that weekend at any fight night. Thus, when all those guys, it was like freaking, flies to fly paper. They would go there. And so on a big night like that, there's going to be all kinds of people there and all kinds of intelligence officers that are there. So could there have been members from Compton PD in Las Vegas on the fight weekend? Yes. Could they have been there for a legitimate reason? Yes. Were there officers there that were conducting, and the FBI conducting legitimate intelligence operations there? Why the hell not? Okay. I think it's easier to believe that they were than that they weren't. So, but that doesn't still, even if that's all true, that still doesn't put Reggie Wright Senior. I mean, what's his idea of intelligence? Go walk right up next to Orlando Anderson and stand there the whole time? Hey, camera! Oh, look at that!
I just don't see the purpose. I don't see the purpose. I don't see the advantage of it. He didn't follow anybody. He didn't go. He basically stood there the whole time. Orlando left. I mean, I don't see it, man. I just don't see it.
No, we've done plenty of side-by-side pictures. The Alex Lyndhurst and Michael Carlin did it, side-by-side pictures. I'm not even sure that we didn't even make that allegation in Battle for Compton. I don't think we did because I was just not there with it. I don't think we did. Somebody call me out on that or not, but I don't think we did. And again, because I'm not, like I said, I had people before. Listen, that allegation was out there, and Carlin and everybody else really believed it because Omar Bradley was the first person who said that. Okay. Omar Bradley was the one who said, that's Reggie Senior. I've worked with the guy all the time. I know the guy. That's Reggie Senior. Didn't bother to tell us that he's got a lifelong problem with Reggie Senior. They're like lifelong mortal enemies. Okay. Like Godzilla and Rodan. Okay. They're just lifelong enemies.
Okay.
And so any opportunity that, if you went back and looked at films, the Zapruder film, and there was a guy that looked like Reggie Wright Senior, Omar Bradley's going to say could say allegedly it's Reggie Wright Senior was in the Zapruder film too. So he could put it there, but they just
okay. I'm gonna put up on it because they want to see a side by side comparison. Here's the thing though. Somebody made a comment that they were there to examine the Orlando questioning. I mean, that would have been pretty hard to listen to whatever's going on. I mean,
well, especially if they're down in the basement doing it. I don't know how Reggie Senior got down to the basement.
Right.
How much questioning do you think they fucking did in 30 seconds or 2 minutes? I mean, it was only like 2 minutes. He's up there talking for like 2 minutes, and that was Kathy Scott's whole thing. Oh, they only questioned him for like 5 minutes, and then they just let him go. No, that's not what Vegas PD says happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and by the way, that's also something that Kathy Scott says happened in her Las Vegas Sun article. Says that he was taken downstairs and questioned. Okay, so whatever she wrote in her book disagrees with what she wrote in her own newspaper article. So good luck on that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was down there. Reggie Senior. The juicy part of that interrogation all happened downstairs away from a lot of people. You can bet your damn shelf that Reggie Wright Senior wasn't there for it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That.
All right. So I'm gonna just do a side by side comparison, and then we'll wrap it up. I'm just in my opinion that is not him. I don't see what the advantage would be, what the purpose would be of him being there. He wasn't anywhere near to even hear any of the conversation that was taking place with all the ruckus that was going on there, and I just don't see an advantage at all. And like you said, there being cameras there, you'd have to know that you were being watched. So why would you take a chance in being there? So side by side comparison. There we go. You can see it.
Is this the reaction video part where I go?
This is where you fall asleep. This is where.
This is the one where I go. All right. Okay.
So we're in agreement,
so
right?
I wish I had my magic wand here. Okay. Other than that, they are both light-skinned males. That's true. Okay. The hairline and the ear lines are completely different. You could see where the one guy wears his glasses up high. Reggie Wright Sr. doesn't. Look at the size of their foreheads, for God's sake. Reggie Wright Sr. does not have much of a forehead. He goes straight from eyeballs to rolling back, kind of like one of the Muppets.
Let me go back to this.
Do you have a picture of Benson Honeydew from the Muppets? That would probably be a closer resemblance to Reggie Senior. No offense to Reggie Senior. I don't want to get on that. But I'm saying that I look more like Reggie Senior with my hairline than this guy does because he's got a high forehead. This guy's got a Cro-Magnon high forehead. Okay.
I'm resizing them so that you can get a better vantage point. Hold on real quick.
Looks like you're resizing me 50 times.
You ready? Here we go.
All right, lay it on me.
There you go. There's your.
You're gonna get my reaction here in 2 seconds.
There's your side by side comparison.
Oh, you elongated him. You elongated his head. Okay, that's nice. Okay, all right. So now apparently we're apples to apples. Listen, Reggie Wright Sr.'s head, the trajectory of his head, the top of his head, his forehead height doesn't match this guy's forehead height. This guy has a forehead and he still has hair on top. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah. His forehead is too far back. Reggie Senior shaved his head. He was losing his hair, but his hairline is actually much lower than that dude's hairline is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing is this guy's nose is longer and thinner. Reggie Senior's nose is stubbier and wider. It's broader.
Yeah.
Than that guy's. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's, other than that, again, you've got one positive confirmation from the guy who hates Reggie Senior. Reggie Jr. has said, and we've talked about it. I've talked with him about it. Reggie's talked about it. And I've even gone on Reggie's show and said that I do not believe that that's him. Now, why would I do that? If I really thought it was him and I thought he had a reason to be there, why would I not say it's him? What do I have to gain by dismissing somebody that could be part of it? Okay. What do I have to gain? Okay. So I just, we can go around, but ultimately that's kind of where I'm at.
All right.
Anyway.
All right. So can we just close the book on this? Kind of like
for now. Yeah. For now. Okay. If that's not him, why is he watching it go down? He stood there right there and then left with it. Yes, he's hotel security. He's taking Orlando down to the basement. That's where they went. Okay. The sad part about all this is that we don't have the rest of the video. We only have the little segments of video that were clipped from the master video copies and given to the prosecution and the defense in Suge Knight's trial. We don't have the rest of the footage. Does Vegas have the rest of the footage? Vegas PD? Bet your ass they do. And they have it, and they know, and again, because they know what time Orlando Anderson went down to the basement when they the little key card and they put it in there, go down, and they also know when Orlando Anderson came up out of the basement, and they know what time that was. So they know whether or not he had time to get to the places that he needed to be to go find the white Cadillac rental car and get together with his homies that didn't really have a lot of cell phones at that time because it was 96 and there wasn't a whole lot of cell phones running around at that point. Okay. They were like brick phones. Again, it just think, and again, no bad questions, but it's going to take a lot more than just Omar Bradley to convince me that this guy with the hotel security jacket on was Rich Wright Sr. Okay, because you have 1,000 more questions that open up after that.
Right.
So, anyway, yes. So listen, I'm going to let you do the shout outs, but I'm going to tell you guys, it's always great. It's that witching hour time again. We're 2 hours on this one. This was a gab.
Yeah, we're supposed to go 1 hour.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you got the bonus plan on this one. So, you guys, it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. we'll keep poking around, seeing us parachute in, parachute out different days and stuff, different times. We're working out the details. At any rate, it's Sunday night. I got a shit ton of paperwork I got to get done tonight because I have school, so I got to get stuff done. Anyway, take care, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Knuckleheads, question everything. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks, RJ. All right. Well, there you go. That's the end of the show. Hey, just everybody, that has the opinion on that's Reggie Senior. I respect your opinion on that. I just don't believe it's him. I don't see an advantage to it, at all. So, I mean, if there was like some relevance to it, there being an advantage of him being there or something, then I would say yeah. But there's just none. So, gonna give a shout outs before we take off for the night. And as RJ said, keep it up in the air. We'll figure out exactly how we're gonna do this. Podcast will be coming back in July, maybe for July weekend, and then after that, we'll figure out what's going on. Also, we have the live stream on every Thursday. We're going to try to bump it up to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time so that people are able to jump on, especially the ones that are on the East Coast. The time is an hour before, so they'll be able to join. And then I think that might be it. And there's a possibility, depending. It's just because you have to create all these things. And today we just kind of we winged it. So you have to get all these decks created and things of that nature to kind of keep it seamless and keep it fluid. So that's the reason why we only limited it to one day, just because of all the obligations we have with work and things of that nature during the week. So, and then of course he's working on other projects right now, actually working on some really good things. And I can't divulge any of the information on what he's working on, but he's working on some good information, good documentaries, things like that. So he has his plate full of things that he's doing. Of course, I'm doing things on my own here. And I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, Spotify, July 4th, hopefully, if not first or second week of July. We'll get back into it. You go to Spotify and you listen to that. That is a little bit better than the live stream, just because you can listen to that while you're in your car. You can listen to that while you're working out. You can listen to it wherever you're at. Live stream is a little bit more limited, just because unless you have premium, you can't download it. So that's pretty much it. So, hey, man, if you guys think that that's Reggie Senior, that's okay. Everybody has an opinion. I just don't see there being an advantage to him being there, listening to the questioning or whatever. He couldn't even listen to it. There was so much ruckus going on. And as RJ mentioned, they did take Orlando Anderson down to the basement to have a questioning with him. And of course, they have to get information from him from a legal standpoint. Of course, they could be liable too for getting sued, and then also for maybe insurance purposes and things of that nature. So you got to kind of look at those things too, as far as why they took him down to questioning. Now, it'd be pretty ballsy or bold move for supposedly Reggie Senior to go downstairs and get into the questioning, especially when it has nothing that he doesn't work for MGM, right? So they'd be questioning like, who the hell is this guy? And of course, he says as a police officer, these things would been noted. They're taking these investigations. They'll note the people that were in the room or whatever it may be. It would eventually have come out when Las Vegas did their investigation, because they went back and they talked to security guards and asked them questions. They did their thorough investigation. So nowhere did they mention that was who was a part of that questioning, if you want to call it that. And so there's no advantage to it. Anyhow, all right. So Jake Style, thank you for coming. Easy Boy 88, thank you for coming. Kevin James, Big 21, Gallo Bito, thank you for joining too. Natasha, good seeing you again on the chat boards. P Shoot, thank you for coming. Jamar, as always, appreciate you. Brandon Metcalf, Gem City Charles. Sounds like a Chicago term. And let's see what else we got here. Of course, RJ Bond, I appreciate him coming in through. JMKAZE, I know you were listening. Thank you for listening. And you guys, if you get an opportunity, go listen to his interviews and listen to the content that he has from previous years. Like I said, you could always find gems if you go back and listen to things that he had recorded previously. So anyhow, that's going to be it for the night. I appreciate everybody being here. If you have any questions, whatever, you have RJ's email, you have my email, and the chat. The chat will be there if you do want to listen to actually go through the timestamps or whatever it is that they go through, so you can listen to any question you may have again and get the response again. And that's pretty much it. So I leave you with this, as I always say, always seek the truth, no matter where it takes you. Have a good night, folks.